Hello, thanks for tuning in. Today we wanted to show you these new jack stands from Harbor Freight. They're the Daytona 3-ton heavy-duty ratcheting jack stands. They have a locking pin, 6,000 pound capacity, maximum height of 16 7/8, minimum of 11 3/8. It's engineered to comply with ASME and PASE. I'm guessing that's the American standards. 2 jack stands are included with it. That's the part number and the Harbor Freight number. We'll flip the box here and take a look. It's a double locking mobility pin for extra safety. It's cast iron, heavy duty reinforced steel base. There's all the specs again. And the same thing on this side of the box. So we'll take a look at the jack stands themselves. Okay, here's the jack stands themselves. They pretty much look like your standard off-the-shelf jack stands, but there are a few more key features here to these ones that I actually like. Now, if we know Harbor Freight did have that issue with some of the jack stands coming down and collapsing on the recall, I actually did have one fall on my finger and got mine swapped out. Thank God I wasn't under it. But we'll go ahead and look at this. This is the actual jack that it sits on under the bar. As you can see, the teeth are cut pretty well. It's got a nice enamel or powder coated epoxy finish on there. 3-ton, it's pretty beefy. In here, you have your standard jack setup with the bend down tab to keep these actually in so they don't fall out if you're moving them around. Your standard release pawl in there, ratcheting style. It's got a standard shear pin in there, just like all the other ones. Let me get the flashlight on. Alright, now that we got the light on, we can see a little better. If we come down here and look, Harbor Freight has actually done a really good job with these jack stands. As you can see, they're fully seam welded all the way up. They come down to a T there to distribute the load so that there's no splitting going on there or prevention of splitting. Then they have gussets all around here that are fully welded through and then painted. Little gussets here to keep everything together. So they really thought about this design when they did it. I mean, you see very few jack stands with gussets or triangles here that reinforce everything. So this is a good job on Harbor Freight. They got a little rubber handle here. That's nice. And then over here is the safety and the safety pin or bar, and then the additional clip that keeps it in. So go ahead and show you on a normal set of jack stands, as you would normally do it if you picked up on the ratchet paw. Let's get this thing straight. You see it goes all the way down. That could be an issue if you're underneath something of a lighter load, not necessarily a car, because when you have this force coming down on it, it's actually pushing and making the pawl roll into it, and you'd have to actually lift the jack stand a little bit. If you see, you actually the jack part actually comes up when you lift the pawl. Well, with this new design here that they got with this pin, it's kind of like a floating pin in there. It doesn't really make contact with the tooth unless this shear pin or the pawl fails. Then it would sit down and lock totally on the top there. And as you can see, I did use them already. But if you see, you can't get the jack to fall down here. It will not fall. And again, this just slides nicely. It has a little locking pin here. So what we can do is, if we take this off and slide this pin out, then it will allow the jack stand to come down. But if you see, it engages one tooth below the actual bar. So you're actually locking in 2 teeth here when you do it. And we'll get this in there. Sorry, trying to do this one-handed. It's not easy. There we go. If you can see, it comes through and it never really makes contact with the actual pawl there until it breaks. If this were to shear off, this would drop down and lock onto this. And again, it's held in with a pin, so it does very, very, very well. Good design. The only other thing that I would like to see, and I'd pay a couple more bucks for, is that they put some type of rubber saddle here to protect the bottom of the car. I know you can buy them separate, but I'd pay an extra $5 to $10 on top of these. These things were $39.99, around 40 bucks. If you catch them on sale, you can get them about 10 bucks cheaper. I don't think you're gonna find a set of jack stands to this quality for that cheap of a price locally. I mean, they were in stock, on the shelf, ready to go. Like I said, I banged it up because I've used them already, but it is a decent powder coat finish. This is from dropping it on concrete. And this was holding up a 2019 full-size SUV, 8-passenger, which I'll attach the video now, and then we'll come back. Alright, this is the Harbor Freight 3-ton heavy-duty Daytona jack stand. This is one of their newer lines that come out. It's pretty good. It's holding up a 2019 Mazda CX-9 Touring. It's pretty heavy SUV. I like the feature that you can tell the pawl and the lever in there is totally on the jack stand, because the safety pin here you can move in and out. And if you see there, so that means that there's full contact with that pawl in there holding the jack stand, and that's just a backup safety in case that this fails or shears, and that shear pin in there shears off. This will catch the jack stand and it fully engages on the tooth. So that is a nice feature. The rubber handle. So yeah, they definitely will hold a large SUV up, no problem. Alright, so if you've seen in the video, that was a 2019 Mazda CX-9 Touring. It's an 8-passenger vehicle. It is pretty heavy. It's a modern car. And the jack stand had no problem holding it up. And as if you've seen when the weight was on it, the pin was still able to slide in and out, which tells you that this is a secondary locking device. Overall, I think these are excellent jack stands for the money. They have all the current safety devices on them. And for 40 bucks, you're not going to really beat these. Because if you get them for cheaper, they're either not going to have this pin, or they're not going to be welded and have gussets in it. This is pretty much an altogether solid 3-ton setup here. So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.